Hi, welcome to my hangar. I want to show you my 210. Hi, this is my 1975 Turbo 210 with a TSI 520 turbocharged engine with a 310 Ram conversion, which is, in my opinion, the best six-seat single-engine piston airplane out there today. Too bad they don't make them anymore, but I really love this plane. Let me give you a little tour of it. So we had a paint job done, repainted here just a few years ago. November 1687 X-ray. Horizontal stabilizer, it's got or the vertical fin, it's got a abrasion boot that's not actually for icing, that's just for abrasion from rocks on soft field. The trim tabs on these and the elevators are known to give some corrosion because they've got some foam inside them. That's one thing with this model that's been a problem, but these have both been completely replaced, so there's no foam inside anymore. A little mirror here so you can see your gear when they're down. You can tell your wheels are down by looking in the mirror, and you can fix your makeup too that way. So coming on around, I've got a tow buddy. It's heavy enough on the ground, 3,800 pound certified takeoff weight, that having an electric tow buddy is really helpful to pull it in and out of the hangar. It's been nice. I keep the tow buddy charged up here on a little charging stand, and I also have a battery tender that I keep my battery charged up for cold Wyoming winters. It makes your battery life a little better. The only de-icing I really have on now is a heated pitot tube, and later in another issue I'll talk to you about the TKS I'm going to install on this and get better de-ice protection. But right now all there really is a defroster for the windshield and the heated pitot. You notice the stall warning horn is not heated even. But another episode we'll talk about the TKS upgrade. Right now what I want to talk to you about is my avionics, my current avionics, and what I'm going to do for avionics upgrades now. Alright, let me give you a tour of my current cockpit, and then after I get my new avionics I will show you that too. So right now currently what I have is pretty state-of-the-art VOR without any onboard GPS. I do have a Garmin 496 I use for GPS, and I have a iPad that I use with ForeFlight, and those two are just phenomenal. I mean, they work so well, but obviously they're not certified for flying with them. They're just for backup data or support, but they're very, very accurate. Matter of fact, this is my KNS 80 here, which is an RNAV, and this KNS 80, I really like it. I've flown instruments with it for a long time. I'm real comfortable with it, but it's just antiquated technologies right now. This is certified RNAV Direct IFR, so I can file direct IFR with this. But if I fly this and keep the needle centered IFR, sender is oftentimes calling me and asking me, telling me I'm deviating from center line or from course a little bit. But if I keep this on and fly the portable GPS line while using this and let it swing just a little bit back and forth, they never call me. So actually the portable GPS is much more accurate than the RNAV, even though this is certified for IFR direct. So in any case, what I've got right here is a standard 6-pack steam gauges. I've been flying almost 30 years now, and I'm really comfortable with the 6-pack of steam gauges. I also have just a Davtron counter. I've got a JPI 700 for my engine instruments, and I really do like that. I'd like to upgrade that sometime. And then I've got a storm scope here, and my two VOR heads with KNS 80 as my number 1, and a KX 155 is my number 2. This is a spot where the Loran is gone. A lot of you probably don't even remember Lorans, and that hasn't been in service for a long time, so Loran's been out. And then I have a 400A autopilot, which has been really off and on. For years now, I've wanted to put a new autopilot in, but I didn't want to put in an old gyro-based autopilot, which is such old technology. All experimental aircraft now have attitude-based autopilots that run off an AHAR system and no mechanical gyro. And it's much safer, much simpler, and it flies the autopilot so much more stable. But with certified aircraft, we've not been able to get that. So there have been a number of different attempts at getting an autopilot that would be better and safer. And finally, Garmin, thank you Garmin, has come up with a couple of autopilots they've got certified now. And actually Genesis, or the old S-Tech, also has a attitude-based autopilot that is certified now for the 210. So there are some options, but the certification just happened over the last month or two. My avionics guy's been great about staying on Garmin and finding out when it would be certified for the Turbo 210L, and it's now certified. I have an appointment coming up in the next month to take it in and put in new autopilot and new equipment. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to change out the current Artificial Horizon and DG with the Garmin G5 screens, which have an AHRS in them and a magnetometer, and they drive a new G500 autopilot, which I'll put in with brushless servos. I am going to put on the trim option with that too, so I have auto trim as well. And then I'm gonna keep my KX155 as my number 2 radio. I'm hopeful I might be able to put a glide slope in it, so I have a second glide slope. I'm going to have a GN750, the large touchscreen Garmin flight director and GPS, which is just going to be awesome. All those will talk to each other. They're a really smooth integrated system that's going to work well together. Then for a later date, maybe we'll be able to put in a new engine instrument and get rid of the old engine cluster here. As you'll see, one of my cylinder head temperature quit working, so I do have that certified as primary on my JPI, but I'd like to get all the rest of them certified on a JPI also. So then I'll also get a new transponder. Mode S requirements are coming up soon, so I'm going to get a Garmin 345, which will be GPS in and out, and it'll also Bluetooth to my iPad so that I can see traffic and weather through the Bluetooth devices also. This old ADF here, I'm sure many of you haven't seen ADF. When I get new instructors now to go out and get my instrument currency, they ask me if that really is an ADF because they haven't seen one before. The last instructor I went with was kind of excited about seeing an ADF approach, and so while we were doing instrument currency, we flew over to Powell and did an NDB approach so he could see how one of those were done. Very old technology, but hey, you know, it worked, and if you understand it, it works. It's just a little more cumbersome and not as slick as the newer stuff. But anyhow, that's what I currently have in here. I had initially thought that I was going to put some other instruments in, maybe a whole big glass panel with the new TXI system in here, and I priced all that out, and I could have done all that probably for budget, but what I realized is that if I cut the panel down just a little bit without the big screens, I could probably afford for that budget to put in a TKS CAV ice for anti-icing. And if you're really going to be flying in this part of the country in Wyoming in any IFR, there's always a possibility of encountering icing, and I just don't really like to fly IFR in the clouds much, except for just getting out of a thin deck or something because of that icing concern. And so I decided with the budget I had, I would cut back a little bit on the avionics suite and add the TKS to make it a much more usable airplane. And in future episodes, I'll go over the new avionics once those are installed. And then after that, we're going to get the TKS put in, and I'll explain that all to you too. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this, a little history of avionics. Keep flying, and talk to you later.